How to create hunger in paradise? This question I've been obsessed trying to answer in the past 2 years. It all started when I was at a conference in Helsinki in Finland to give a keynote presentation. Afterwards, I fell into chat with 3 employees from Nokia, and about 10 minutes into our conversation, I realized that every single one of them had an iPhone in their pocket. I thought, working in Nokia and owning an iPhone must be an unforgivable sin. Just 6 months after my experience that night in Helsinki, the ruins of Nokia's phone division was sold to Microsoft, and the company became a brutal reminder of the short distance from greatness to fall. From 50% global market share to 3% in just 5 years. And it made me think that while we talk a lot about how to achieve success, we rarely talk about how difficult it is to sustain success. To me, Nokia proved that it is harder to stay successful than to become successful. It's harder to innovate when you have something to lose. And it's a lot harder to create an urgency to improve when all you see around you is abundance. This is exactly the dilemma that any successful organization faces. How to create hunger in paradise. Staying hungry and fighting complacency is never easy. But here are 3 tips successful organizations should never forget. First of all, you got to be willing to make yourself look like a beginner. Today, Lego is the world's most valuable toy manufacturer. In 2013, Lego made a bigger profit than its 3 closest competitors in the toy industry combined. But then the management team asked itself, that's all good, but are we really competing in the toy industry? Think about it. If an 11-year-old boy did not buy a Lego, what would he then buy? Would he buy another toy? Or would he rather buy an iPhone, which is in a similar price segment? If he bought an iPhone, Lego's battlefield is not really the toy industry, but the children's playroom. Then Lego's worst competitor is suddenly no longer Megablocks or Fisher-Price, but Apple. And when you start comparing yourself with the success of Apple, even Lego starts to look like a beginner. Sometimes you got to reframe the competitive landscape in order to find a benchmark that will inspire you to get better rather than make you look good. Secondly, kill the illusion of perfect conditions. With success come more employees, more cash, and more market power. The trouble is that abundance often makes executives intellectually lazy. They start to believe that success comes from outspending your rivals rather than from outthinking them. Just look at Nokia. Between 2004 and 2007, the years leading to Apple's first iPhone launch, Nokia spent 9 times more money than Apple on research and development. What drives unconventional thinking is not really abundance of time and resources, but constraints. And when the outside world does not create the constraints, great leaders create them from within. Steve Jobs was a master of self-imposed constraints. All he gave Apple's iPod team was 8 months from start to market. A few years later, he told his designers to create a revolutionary phone, but it could only have 1 button, not 2 or 3, just 1. Steve Jobs kept complacency out of Apple by creating self-imposed constraints that made it impossible for people to do business as usual. Here's the third and final tip. If it ain't broke, consider breaking it. Great organizations have the courage to interfere with the winning formula. A few years ago, Netflix DVD mail service was thriving, but at the same time, the company's leadership team recognized that the delivery of movies over the internet would replace the mail carrier. So Netflix started to develop the streaming software we know today, way before it was necessary. Netflix actually pushed customers towards the new platform, even though it meant that they would rent fewer discs by mail, and in fact cannibalize their own business. It is precisely this self-disruptive instinct that the best companies possess. They don't wait to be disrupted. They create their own disruptions. No one wants to be the next Nokia, and nothing is set in stone. The cure against complacency is hunger in paradise.